one of the things that's very interesting about the bill and many of these bills is a lot of terms are not defined. If you start off on page 1 of this bill, section 3, portability, get down to line 14, it's defined as something to enable the secure transfer of data to a user. You go over to interoperability on the next page, section 4, look at line 22, it says, covered platform shall maintain a set of transparent third-party accessible interfaces to facilitate and maintain interoperability. It doesn't define what that is. Mm-hmm. I've had some conversations with a member or two in which the member says, well, all that is instead of data being, your portable data being delivered to you, interoperability would allow it to be delivered to another platform. Well, I'm not so sure. So as I was digging into this, and to Mr. Cicilline, you've pointed out a couple times that it's been a long investigation. There's a really big majority staff committee report, and I've read a lot of it. And I went back to that to try to understand what it would be, what interoperability might mean. And I came upon, in particular, an article or a paper written by Michael Cadiz, who I understand is maybe legislative counsel and antitrust to Senator Klobuchar, called Interoperability as a Competition Remedy for Digital Networks. And he contemplates there that interoperability would be like Twitter users being able to friend or get access to users on Facebook. Facebook was a place he seemed to really focus. And I thought about, well, so what would happen if somebody on Parler wanted to friend somebody on Facebook? And whose rules would govern if Facebook said, for example, you're forbidden to mention the origin of COVID-19 coming from a lab in Wuhan, China? Can't say that. That's against our rules, our community rules. Or you can't say anything about the Hunter Biden laptop. It's against our community rules. Or maybe something a little bit more, you can't misgender somebody. That's one that so whose rules are going to govern? And in fact, if that, that not being too far-fetched, there's a paragraph here where he says, in the social network context, there will likely be ample disputes. For example, the defendant platform rejects interoperability with an entrant because it claims the entrant traffics in hateful and deceptive information, which the defendant's platform forbids. The entrant responds that it does not allow such information to be posted and reports that the defendant discriminates against posts of the entrant. So the concern is that, particularly if you go over to page 18 of the bill, one of the things that the technical committee is told to do is to prevent fraudulent, malicious, or abusive activity by a business user interoperating with the covered platform. Now, I'm not in favor of fraud, not in favor of malice. I don't really know what abusive means. And it's yet another area for the FTC to decide. And it seems like what's likely to happen is the FTC is probably going to follow the practices of a Facebook in many circumstances and say you can't talk about the origins of the, and if you're on Parler, instead of having a unique platform, you're going to be stuck with the same kind of oppressive rules that say you can't talk about the origin of the COVID-19 virus. Now, I think this has been helped today by Ms. Lofgren's amendment that says nobody's going to get it interoperated except on a user-by-user consent basis. But if a user grants consent to interoperate with Parler, then there's no reason that Parler's rules for its community need to be overridden by Facebook.
Good point.
And that's what this amendment would do.
Good point.